Good morning. November has arrived, and it's a beautiful morning. Ryan and I are back down at the River Bottom Farm. We're in this pond set again, going after Kelce. It's about 39 degrees or so, and we have a south wind. The pressure's on the rise. There's still a little bit of moisture in the air, but it feels pretty good. We've had one buck cruise by so far. It's that same big-browed 8-point. He just came work down the river edge here a few minutes ago. And he's a beautiful deer. I mean, I can't make him older than 3 in my head, so I'm hoping we can keep him around for another couple years. Kelce's still been active on camera. He was on this camera down the lane yesterday evening. And it was actually daylight on the south plot the night after Rye shot his buck at 5:30 p.m. So despite being in there the night before and the morning tracking Rye's buck, he was still right there in the same area. So he seems pretty locked in on this area of the farm, and I think our paths will cross here before too long. There's not very much wind this morning, so even with the south wind, that buck walked downwind of us. I dropped a few floaters and they fell right to the base of the tree. I think, that sun gets up, our thermals will take our scent up, and we can stand to have deer on any side of us, basically. Looking forward to our November 1st sit. It's a little buck. We never saw him coming. He had to be right here. Yeah. We'll give it a little second. High rack, sucker. Okay. Oh, there he goes. Some rutting activity. I like that. It might be the turn-in 10. Yeah. Is that the 5th buck this morning? Well, it's about 8:45. And we've seen 6 bucks so far. I did a short rattling sequence and had a nice 3-year-old or 2 or 3-year-old just come running to the base of the tree. He must have been probably, 80 yards behind us on the river. We just hadn't seen him, and it was pretty cool. He charged in here. It was all bristled up. We've seen some other young bucks chasing does, and then we saw a buck. We haven't really named him. We referred to him as the turn-in 10, but last year he's one of those that Jared filmed a few times. I filmed a few times late season. Just a beautiful 10. I found his match set. We thought he was 3 or 4 years old. And then this year, he didn't change a bit. He looks exactly the same. And he doesn't have like a huge body on him or anything. I did film him in velvet this summer. He's one of the bucks I filmed in velvet. So anyway, it's cool to see him in person. They're definitely up on their feet cruising. It's about noon now, and it ended up being a very enjoyable morning. We haven't had much activity here for the last hour and a half or so, and I've got a little bit of work to do, so we're gonna get packed up. I want to make a move back to the south plot for this afternoon. I think we saw 9 bucks or so this morning. Saw that turn in 10 buck. That's a 4 or 5 year old, and that really nice 8 with the flyer and the long brows. It's a 3 or 4 year old. You know, saw some rutting activity. Had some bucks come to rattling. So anyway, really enjoyable morning. It's warming up. We're gonna have a lot of hot weather. I mean, we don't have a north wind until next Wednesday, November 9th. So it's gonna be a warm first week in November, but they still got to do what they got to do. So we're gonna be in a tree. So, we'll catch up with you guys this afternoon. Brad keeps asking me to talk about the access to our south plot. So we just come up this old farm lane, park the Tour V, and drop down into this ditch. Getting down in the low spots is really helpful. And we've got a nice ditch right here we're going to drop into. And we can get right to the tree by walking in this ditch. We have made the move for the afternoon hunt. After climbing down this morning a little after noon, we stopped and hung a set for the morning on the north side of the central timber where I shot my buck earlier this year. The cameras would say that Kelce is staying along the river down here. He's not really moving to the north part of the farm like he was in the summer, and so I'm just using that information and staying on this side. It's warmed up quite a bit, as you can see. I've got the t-shirt on. It's like mid 70s right now. It's going to cool down to the mid 60s by dark. It doesn't feel terrible, but I mean, it's a lot warmer than you'd like it to be. Pressure's on the rise, the clear bluebird skies. And we're supposed to have a south wind, which it's actually better. It's the best wind for this stand. It just blows it right back up our access ditch. Last time we hunted here is when Rye shot his buck. That was October 28th. And we ended up having Kelce on camera the next afternoon at 5:30, so hour and 15 minutes before legal shooting. So obviously we didn't disturb the area too much. And that night we were hunting it on a east-southeast, which kind of cuts off part of the area that deer could come from. And that next night on camera, it looked like he did come from that direction. So who knows where he was that night. We have other nights where he's coming off the river. We have a camera in the next field over. It's probably maybe 300 yards, 250, 300 yards from here. He's been, really active down here in the afternoon. Yesterday afternoon, he was actually on the small peninsula camera, like I mentioned this morning. So I don't have a lot of options here for a south wind. There's just a bunch of small trees in the center of this piece of the farm, and I think he's bedding in there. And so I basically have these 3 stands set up now for south winds, and I can keep bouncing around, and I expect we'll cross paths here soon. But I think he's hanging out down here just because there's a ton of does down here. They bed back over my left shoulder around that oxbow pond, oxbow lake, and then they bed in all these small cottonwood maple trees, and of course down on the river. But anyway, we've got a little over 3 hours to go. Sit back and enjoy the afternoon, and hopefully he shows up. So now
Now they're all.
the 3 bucks are all next to each other. Well, that buck seems to be following us around everywhere we go. It's pretty cool to have him come into 15 yards. He's a real pretty buck. Ended up seeing 12 deer for the evening, 4 bucks. That's 12 or 13 bucks for the day. All in all, a good day in the woods. Not a ton of rutting activity. I mean, for November 1st, I would normally expect to see more, but the bucks are out there in the corn feeding with the does. I mean, it just seems a little strange, but I know it's right around the corner, so we're going to stay after them.